All right, give it a couple of seconds. And meeting, it says meeting now is setting up your Facebook Live, done redirecting, and you're on.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Business Power Hour with Darren and the Music Man. The boys are back in town. We are here. How is everybody? How are you, Darren?
Hey, good, Music Man. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, eating a lot.
This is like a dream come true.
Yeah, this is fun for us.
Yeah, we don't have to be next to each other.
That's good stuff. I'm liking this. Good idea.
Yeah, well, sitting around trying to figure out things on what to do next. And hey, you know what? This is it. This is the next thing. Everybody's using Zoom. Everybody's doing this for meetings and business is doing this. I said, why not give this a shot for our show?
No,
so,
it's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, how you doing? How you holding up with this stuff?
It's been actually on a serious note. It's been serious. It's tough. Business is completely shut down, not just for me, but for everybody. And I'm sure it's taking an effect on everybody in a lot of different ways. And I'm trying just to plan for the future, and hopefully there'll be a nice, healthy future in everybody's lives sooner than later. And you?
You know what? I've been busier than ever with all of the stuff going on with, trying to get this financing in place that the government's put in and all these different things. My clients, we're scrambling. I have clients that are completely shut down because of this. I have other clients that are actually doing tremendously well because of this market. It's a weird type of dynamic that's going on.
What kind of client is doing so well?
Actually, we have a friend, Adam, over at Sip and Say, is actually doing Christmas type numbers at his liquor store.
Really?
He's got curbside pickup as well as doing deliveries. And he said the numbers are off the charts. People being wine, they're buying more liquor, they're, having a grand old time. So it's just a tremendous thing that's going on right now out there.
What's he selling more of? Vodka? No, seriously, because people were buying vodka just for the alcohol content.
You know what? I don't know. That's a great question. And if Adam's watching tonight.
Hold it. Did you say great question?
Yes, I did say great question.
Okay, here we go. We got it.
There you go. You got your bump. So if Adam's watching tonight, he can actually chime in, let us know what he's doing.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice for him to
doing that. So yeah, I am monitoring Facebook. So I'm watching that. That's going on. We got to look. There's a lot of things going on, especially with this virus and all the other stuff that's going on. And
what I think is bothering a lot of people more than anything else, or as much as anything else, is being told the truth.
Yeah,
I just want to know the truth. I don't want to hear from this one. It's this story and this one. We got to have the same story. Everybody's got to get on the same plate and just tell it the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
We got to have the truth. And someone that can probably help us tell the truth is one of our guests here tonight.
Well, we got a couple of guests tonight. And, with this new technology and me trying to figure it out and all this other stuff.
You've done a great job. Kudos to you, my friend.
Thank you.
Nice
I appreciate that. Trying to get this down, but they've been a help too, because actually one of our guests uses this all the time. So it was real easy working with her to get it.
She's an ideal guest for what's going on here tonight.
Absolutely. So why don't we bring her in? Is this the person you're talking about? Getting to the truth and finding out what's really going on?
I believe her name is Ilene.
Ilene, right?
Ilene, in quotes, the #1 Business Power Hour fan.
That's right. She's number
Corina.
one. Corina.
Ilene, good evening.
We're going to bring you on right now, Ilene. Again, I'm new at this, so give me a second here. We may have a second delay before she's on the screen. But there she is. Hi, Ilene.
There she is. Look at her in her office. Look at all those certificates and awards.
Oh, look at what you got behind you. Holy smokes.
What, somebody there?
Colorful.
Wow.
Thanks,
Ilene, welcome. What's going on in your life with all this? You must be real busy.
Well, I am busy. I've always worked from home, so it's not that different working wise. But we're working on a campaign right now, the Take Charge campaign, which I talked on your show a month ago, and
Right.
it really is taking off. It's very appropriate for what's happening in the world now, literally in the world, that people are afraid to enter the healthcare system for one reason, the fear of what's happening, but it's also the fear of not knowing.
Well, what's scary, Eileen, what's scary about, I don't mean to cut you off. What's scary about this whole situation is that when somebody gets sick, unlike other situations we've all been involved in, you can't be by the person, you can't be by their side. So, when it comes to what you do and what you teach and everything else, is not being able to be in the room to ask the questions for the patient. What do we do? What questions should we be asking? Because I'll give you an example. Actually, two of my cousins went to a wedding down in Florida a couple of weeks ago. Both of them right now, unfortunately, are on respirators and they got the COVID. Okay. Both of their spouses are now quarantined. So they can't see them. They're worried to death about them. There's no way to have that human interaction that's needed in situations like this. And not only that, they're quarantined, so nobody can go see them. Just, you know what I mean? To even give them the emotional support that they need. So what questions should we be asking the doctors? How can we get around this? Do you have some suggestions on that?
Well, I just want to touch first of all on the emotional support term you just used, because what we're doing now, the Zoom, is really helpful. And people should not be afraid to pick up the phone and call people they haven't talked to in years. Because many of us have time. A lot of people will take 15 minutes out to have a conversation and find out where people are emotionally, because it's really an important part of healing and being prepared by knowing that there's a support system. Knowing that somebody's in the hospital, it's a lot of things we got to say, all bets are off. We have to trust the healthcare system to do their job. They are scared also. They're doing the best they can. As family members, if we're not quarantined, or even if we are, you want to be able to or encourage one person in the family to call. We don't want many family members calling about a patient in the hospital. It overburdens them and it keeps them away from the healthcare professionals, away from other patients. So you want to make sure that you're not overburdening them with phone calls. And they'll give you the information. You'll be updated. And you also want to be prepared. We go into an airplane and we can't stop it from crashing, but we could be prepared with our seatbelt and what we need. We can't stop this necessarily. If we're going to get it, we're going to get it. We know what the professionals say to do,
Right.
but we want to be careful that we're listening to them and we're doing our best. And don't assume it's not going to happen. We keep thinking that it's not going to happen to me or it's not going to happen to you, and then it does. And then what? So we want to be prepared.
You can't question whether it's going to happen. It's happened.
It's happening.
You can question whether you're going to get it or not. And God willing, if you do what you've been suggested to go and do, washing your hands, using alcohol, wearing a face mask, using rubber gloves. I mean, in my lifetime, I never thought that I would be doing anything like this. I mean,
for years I've been saying that, we go into a hospital to visit somebody, and the first thing I explain to family members to do is wash down the bed, because we touch it. We just touch the bed and we don't even realize we're doing this. And then the patient touches the bed. Well, it's the same thing now in our house, treating our house and our home as if you're living with somebody, as if it is a hospital room. My son goes to work every day. He comes home. I put on the doorknob antibacterial wipes as a reminder to him. Wash the doorknob, wash the sink down, don't share toothpaste. A single bathroom is really important. These are all the same things that we teach people in the hospital. Now we're bringing them into our home.
Yeah, and that goes to exactly what you just said, Eileen. Norm and I were having a conversation earlier today where people don't mean to do this. They don't want to transmit. They don't even realize they're transmitting when they do it.
it's not right.
And you just don't know where you're going to pick it up for. So regardless of who the person is, you really, really got to be cautious on that. I want to, speaking of being in the hospital and you heard me talk about it on the show a number of times. My cousin John had open heart surgery not too long ago. He's been recovering for a while, and he's actually joining us tonight and get his perspective. Somebody who just went through a very traumatic surgery and the fear that he's going through and the precautions he's going to be taking. So right now, I want to welcome John to the show.
Hey, John.
As soon as he turns his video on.
Good thing we practiced this before we.
Yeah, really. Come on, John. Johnny,
Put the pizza down and the donuts. Hit the freaking video button.
It says stop my video. It says not touchscreen, Dad.
Oh, I love this little family feud.
Conversation about it.
Hey,
it's not.
So that's Luca. Hi, Luca.
Look at him. He's still stuffing himself.
Got to catch up on the calories.
You see, if you were a Yankee fan, they wouldn't let you eat that donut.
First, John, I want to comment on that picture of the ball.
Yeah, look at it.
And John, listen, yeah, he's got a picture of the ball. And for those of you who don't know, John bought a ball when we had Les Wolf on. John bought a Pete Alonso ball. Les actually gave the ball to me. John paid for it. And I sent him a picture of the ball because here it is. Here is the ball.
Get close up with the signature. Make it a little closer. Can you make it closer?
I think so.
Back it up. There you go.
That's weird, right? So there you go. So you can see that's
at least
that's
the
the actual
family,
ball. So I sent him a picture of it just to be nice. But John,
can I just interrupt John before, because it's something we should have done in the beginning of the show.
Okay.
Which I meant to do, but since it's the first time, I just want to give thanks and prayers and a whole lot of love to everybody that goes to a hospital or a nursing home or picks up garbage, the first responders, doctors, nurses, people like Ilene who are really in the my wife goes to a nursing home every single day. Take your temperatures, do what you got to do, but God bless everybody that has been in there, the mayor, the governor, the government, whatever it may be. Thank you so much for the work that you are doing. That's it. Now, John, you can eat your donut and talk. Okay.
So John, I don't know if you were paying attention while this was going on. Okay.
I heard everything.
So, you just had major surgery, right? They actually cut you open and they cut you open twice, right? You had to go back in.
An infection. Yeah.
You had an infection and stuff. So, and that wasn't too long ago. So that was 8 weeks ago?
First surgery was December 5th. Second surgery was January 15th.
Okay. So, we're talking about, a month and a half, almost 2 months ago, right? That you've had this. Yep. What are you feeling with this? I mean, this is something that's very contagious and everything else. And, I saw you went out shopping and you had your mask on, you had your gloves on. What precautions are you taking, and what's going on in your mind with this?
I'm just like anyone else. I'm just watching my back.
First, wait. First, you're gonna say, "Great question."
Oh, great question, Darren.
Thank you.
That's probably the best question anyone has ever asked me.
Okay. Seriously, though, Joe.
No, I watch my back. I make sure that anything I touch, I try to wash. I wash my hands constantly. My son actually was the one that gave me the mask because I was like, I don't need a mask. I'm going to stay away from people anyway. He's like, Dad, don't be stupid. Just wear the mask. So coming from a 20-year-old kid, he even knows that we got to be somewhat cautioned. The gloves are in the car. So anytime we go out, gloves go on. It's sad. It's a crazy time because, I was just talking, I told Darren, I was talking to my wife, like, this is like out of a movie. This is something that I never thought I would ever see in my life. I'm sure, just like Norm said. But it's scary that it's scary because you can't see it. You don't know if you have it. You have to wait for a test to get it, to see if you have it. It's flu-like symptoms. So you don't know if you have the flu or you have this virus. It's a whole new world, but I firmly firmly believe that this is not the way we're going to live for the rest of our lives, but it's a wake-up call, just like 9/11 was, just like a whole bunch of other stuff. It's a wake-up call.
Eileen, question for you, because you're the only one on this short panel that could probably answer it. Why are we being told that testing's going to take 10 days, and then we hear the nonsense from everybody that we're doing 100,000 tests a night, and there's no way. And then people say they don't get their test results. The doctors are saying we can't help people if we don't know what's going on. Do you have any kind of response for that?
I don't know for a fact, but I can tell you what my guess is, because people I know who have gotten tested and said that they'll find out in a week, get the results back in 2 days, 2 or 3 days.
Well, that's great.
I think what they're trying, my guess is what they're trying to do, which kind of makes sense, is to avoid people calling the next day or 2 days later because they're not expecting the results back yet. So, they're going as fast as they can. I'm sure that they're doing the best they can. But if they told people that we'll get your test back in 24 hours, then in 12 hours, people will be calling with anticipation. So I think it's a way to not make a promise that can't be kept. And I don't know for a fact, but it takes a few days. I know with certain growth, they have to watch how it grows or what the tests come back. I'm guessing that the whole thing is very overwhelming, and there's no way of predicting almost anything right now.
So let me ask you this question, Eileen. You see these statistics all over the place, about these other viruses that we've had over the last decade, and it's affected so many more people than it's already affected, in the United States. But the response now is so different, than all these other viruses that we were battling, 10 years ago. And, SARS and things like that took more lives than it's taken, this is taken and stuff like that, and affected so many more people. Why wasn't there, what is your theory on why there wasn't such panic?
Well, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a nurse or a doctor. I'm a board certified patient advocate, but and I work with people in the in the community to teach this information. So we did an interview with an infectious disease doctor recently who shared some information, and I did learn that coronavirus is not new. It's been around a long time. This is a new strain that came in, and they couldn't predict what was going to happen with this. So that, or when it was from another country, and that's when it suddenly became an issue. So there's no way of really knowing what truthfully happened. I watch the same news as everybody else. The fear of what this is and how people are being treated. We've had these things happen in the past. Somebody told me recently that this is very similar to what the gay community was living in the 1980s when HIV
AIDS,
came around,
right.
AIDS came around, because they were so fearful for their, who's got it, who's going to get it, who's carrying it. And now we're all living this the same way, of fear of who's got it, how you're going to get it.
How are you going to get rid of it?
Wasn't that a little different? Like, they knew how you got it was fluid, right? Like you couldn't have dirty needles. You weren't having unprotected sex. I think this though is,
They weren't always sure. They didn't always know that. At the beginning, they didn't know that.
Really? They didn't know that.
I don't think they knew that at the very beginning. They had to go through because remember, they thought it was for gay people. Then they thought it was, the hemophilia
Drug community. Right.
So there's a lot of different theories behind that early on, but there was a short time.
Like streets are desolate. It's a ghost town.
No, we've never seen anything like you said, John.
Right?
This is something out of a movie. It really is.
Yeah.
When I can get in a car, and I live on the east end of Long Island, and I can get to Nassau County, almost the border of Queens, in 45 minutes, there's something wrong on Long Island.
So can I ask a question? I'd like to bring something up, because this is what I've been doing for 20 years as far as preparing for some of this. They're talking about the ventilators is constantly on the news, the need for a respirator, and somebody that means a person will not be able to speak for themselves if they go on a ventilator. And they're not talking about a few, they're talking about massive amount of people that can't speak for themselves. Now, John, I heard you have a 20-year-old son.
Correct.
If he goes on a ventilator, you've got no rights as a parent to make his decisions. What we've been doing for 20 years is encouraging people to choose someone who will speak for you if you can't speak for yourself. So we're working with college students now, interns, and this is one of the projects we're working on. And this is a perfect opportunity for people to have these conversations. My healthcare proxy said to me, what do you want to do? Do you want to go on a ventilator? What do you want to do? Do you want to give your organs, donate your organs? We need to be having these conversations. And now we have the time and the reason to have these conversations. And it's not about death or dying. It's about that temporary opportunity that we cannot make a decision for ourselves because we can't breathe, because we're having pain. We're going to be get on a respirator. And all of a sudden now we're saying, who's going to make these decisions for me? Because I did not want certain things done. I did not want to be cared for this way. We need to start having these conversations. And it's not it can't be a fear of what's going to happen. It's the reality of what is happening right now. And we need
Ilene,
to talk to
can I
that.
ask you something?
Sure.
Not ask you something. I don't know if you said in the beginning when we introduced you, if you talked about what your organization does. You're talking about it now without using the key word, advocacy.
Mhm.
Right? Tell everybody what it is that you're doing, why you're promoting what you're promoting now.
Well, Pulse Center for Patient Safety, Education, and Advocacy has been around since 1996. We started as a support group for survivors of medical injury. Medical errors are the third leading cause of death in the country. And we've developed a program with advisors and key people in healthcare to develop training programs for family members to be advocates for each other, patient safety advocates. So, there's advocates out there. You can hire somebody, but a lot of people feel that they want to help each other. Now, Norman's wife is a nurse. She knows more than most people. But the idea is that if she is too close to Norman and panicked or was too emotionally stressed, she might want to call on somebody else. And that's what our organization does, is we do family centered. We help the family. We don't charge because we're a nonprofit organization, and we decided to never put a price on our services. So we do training and we do workshops and we do programs. And right now we have going this Take Charge campaign which started long before this. And it's 5 steps to safer healthcare. And the first step is advanced directives. And it's a perfect opportunity to be talking about this.
So John, let me ask you a question, John. Does Luca have a health proxy?
No.
Okay, so as a 20-year-old kid, as Ilene said, if something should happen to him, you can't go in there and say, well, I'm his father and I'm going to make the decisions. And they're going to tell you,
Not going to do you any good.
And to be honest with you, that's what I thought. Having this conversation just now, I thought he can't speak for himself. So why wouldn't the parent be the one to speak for him? But Eileen's shaking her head no. So I guess that's not true.
No, and this is what college students think also, which we go into high schools and we prepare them for this, because when you go off to college and something happens, my son was halfway across the country, got in a car accident. When I called up, they couldn't prove who I was.
Right.
His father had to drive out there to be next to him to get information. So you're out of the picture. 18 years old. They are
Right.
not. They don't have to talk. As a courtesy, they might. So I'm not going to say they won't.
Right.
But they could also get in a lot of trouble if there's decision-making opportunities. Remember the Karen Ann Quinlan case, the Terry Schiavo case. They were in their 20s, young women in their 20s, and they're famous cases because there was no advance directives, and the family went to war, and it cost a lot of money and heartache for the family just because of decision-making. So young people don't know those stories, and this is really things that we need to think about. Another thing I'll just share with you is, if you have a heart condition, you should have that written, you should have that tattooed on your arm, because if you fall unconscious someplace, unless them finding the scars on your chest,
Which they will.
they need to know, right? But they need to know what medications you're on.
Right.
They need to know something like, I have asthma. If I can't speak because I'm either unconscious or I'm have this virus, there's a chance that they won't know that I have asthma and the treatment that I take and the medications I need.
John, do you carry one of those medic alert bracelets, that lists out things that are, of course not.
No, why would I?
Not that's why would you?
Why would I? I'm a Siafi. Come on.
And John, you want to be brave, but it's not fair to
No,
your
I
family.
I totally understand where you're coming from, and I agree 1,000%. You're right.
And you got time now. You got
Yeah,
time.
Yeah.
absolutely.
But Eileen, isn't it very simple to create a health proxy?
It actually is. It's a legal document, but you don't need an attorney for it. You need two witnesses, and it's really the conversation that comes with it that's very important. What do you want? What treatment do you want? If I'm unconscious, if I'm brain dead, if I, what, it's having that conversation. It's not just taking a form and filling it out. Yet, when you go into the hospital, in your admission packet, they will hand you something that says, who's your healthcare proxy? And you're going to pick somebody because they're telling you to pick somebody and you haven't had the conversation.
Let me also mention, if I can, because we've had this conversation, and because of you, I did what I did. No one is walking around with this piece of paper. You could fill it out 100 times. They're not walking around with a piece of paper.
Keep it in mind.
You need to do something, not what I did, but something similar to what I did. I filled it out. I had it signed. I then went to Staples. I reduced it and I put plastic around it. Now, and I made two of them. I have mine and I have my wife's, and she has the same thing. Now, this is in my wallet. God forbid I go into the hospital and they're checking to get ID or whatever. If my wife is not around, it's in there. And also carry my medicine, how many, and what the dosage is and what medicine I take. And I have it on a card also inside in my wallet. That's because of Eileen. Scared the crap out of me.
And
You
you
know,
can
so-
put it on your phone also under the emergency contact information. It could be listed and it could be opened, even if it's locked, it could be opened by a paramedic or the emergency team. We did an article on that. It's very easy to put in. It's very easy to do. You just have to know how to do it. And then, and it could be locked, which I learned from one of our workshops. Somebody taught me that. So we need that information. And my kids carried in their wallet. My son got a wallet for Christmas, and he took out of his old wallet his healthcare proxy. So I was thrilled with that. And
Are they doing anything special with insurance for people now that are unemployed and not, don't have money coming in? Have anything changed with insurance?
I don't know about insurance. I'm hoping to find out soon because my son is unemployed. He's a chef and he's going to lose his insurance. So it might be different for people. I'm not sure. I can't give that information.
It's so convoluted on what they're going to cover and what they're not going to cover. Health insurance is a big part of this relief bill that came out. I know for a fact that from a business perspective, they have this paycheck program where even if employers are shut down, they're going to give them enough money to keep paying their employees for the next couple of months. That includes the health insurance costs. All right. So, the government's being very generous to say, hey, you're not working, will be on unemployment. You keep paying them as employees. We'll cover the cost of their employment as well as their health insurance.
Darren, why don't you take the portion of this show now? Because I know that you're an accountant, you got to get taxes out and you got to do all this stuff. Plus now you got all this other stuff. And then you get panicky clients that call you, I got to get on insurance. I got to get an SBA loan. I got to do all of this.
Yeah.
Which adds to you. Why don't you tell everybody what you're involved with it, and what you're doing for your clients?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of the things, like I said before, I have, a bunch of clients that are completely shut down. I got a bunch of clients that are still working, but working with skeleton crews, and, the revenue just isn't there. I don't care what industry you're in, every industry is affected by this thing. So, one of the things, especially in the New York area, we're trying to make sure that nobody gets laid off. And I'm working with my clients to ensure them that they go through the SBA process properly and get the right funding for it. Now, it was just passed on Friday. They're not even going to start processing applications for a lot of this funding until this Friday, but it's all in the preparation and the stuff. They're making it very easy. They're making it the easiest you can get money right now is, we all say, I talk to other professionals and stuff. This is just one of those too good to be true situations when it comes to getting funding. This is a great opportunity for everybody to get the funds that they need to get through this. The government has thrown a ton of money at this, and they've also said, if we got to go back and get more money to keep throwing at this, we will.
Okay, so time out for 1 second.
Mhm.
So now you're in this position and your client calls up and says, fine, let's do this SBA thing, or let's do this unemployment. So they fill out the unemployment form and they're told that it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks before you see your first check. Today is April 1. Today is rent's due, mortgages are due, bills got to get paid, car payments, yada, yada, yada. I'm sure some companies are helping out by extending when payments have to be made. But I've heard stories that, yeah, we'll let it go for 3 months, but at the end of 3 months, you got to pay the total amount of rent that's due. And if you don't, we're going to, I mean,
Well,
what's going on with this?
listen, it's a matter of being proactive. And what I mean by that is very simply get ahead of it. Don't wait until they start calling you. Call them first.
Absolutely.
And, you know, look, there's horrendous wait times and everything else with these car companies, with these mortgage companies, and all of this stuff. Look, the governor of New York has put out a directive that all foreclosures, you know, kicking people out of their apartments, all of this stuff stops for 90 days and it can't be penalized. He also put a directive out that the rent can't be at the end of 90 days, you got to pay the last 3 months. So that can't happen. It's got to be tacked on. It's got to be a way that everything can be caught up. You know, so he's given some kind of relief in there. You know, will people, yeah, you're going to have people that are going to have horror stories. You're going to have people that are not going to follow the directives the way they are. But what we've seen, the success I've seen with my clients is we're out in front of it. We're contacting people up front. We're saying, hey, we need extra time to make payments, and they're good with it. And that's one of the things that we got to do. I just want to do a couple of, I mean, we got a ton of people on. I want to do a couple of quick shout outs. I want to shout out to Mike Sayafi, the author of the Phoenician Diner Cookbook. There you go.
This is another family member?
It's John's brother, Mike. Yeah, he's on.
Or into food.
That's it.
Hey, you could have fooled me.
My cousin Louie from Florida is down there. Louie, you know, I
Cousin
know
Louie. Everybody got to have a cousin Louie.
Oh, yeah, but Louie, I just want to, you know, wish everybody down there the best. You know, we're saying prayers for Jim and Linda, and you know, hoping everything is working out down there for them. You know, as well as everybody else. You know.
No, Darren, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
yeah.
Wouldn't you think the government would step in and tell these banks, listen, there's going to be a 90-day period where you can tack on your mortgage towards the end of your mortgage.
Right.
So it gives them a reprieve of 3 months to catch up or find a new job or collect money where they're getting.
Mhm.
I don't see that happen. And I see loans being thrown out there that's got interest, right? So you're borrowing money, but you got to pay it back.
Yeah.
Or a grant. They're also giving grants.
So they're giving
Correct,
grants.
but there's also interest on that, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, no, not the grants.
not the grants.
The paycheck program, and you and I were talking about
Right.
earlier, John.
Right.
The paycheck program is if you take that money and use it to meet your payroll needs over the next 2 months, then guess what? You don't have to pay it back
Right.
at all. No interest, no nothing.
That's great. Right.
You know, and that's what I'm saying is that it, you know, it's too good to be true. And people are like, well, I got rent, I got this. Well, you only have to use 75% of the money they give you for payroll. The other 25% you can use for rent, mortgage, interest, stuff like that. But what they're saying, they're encouraging the banks. They can't tell the banks they have to do this.
Well,
They're encouraging the banks to play ball. And the government's got a little leverage because they mess with the interest rates and
Right.
and all the other
Darren,
things that do.
Question, how do people get in touch with you that really need some help? I know you're really, really busy and whatever may be.
Anybody
there-
can reach out to me. You know, I'll give you my email address and I'll give you my business number. You guys can reach out to me, and I've been fielding questions all week long, and I'm talking to people. And if I can help you, I will help you. If I can't help you, I'll direct you to people I think that can help you. You know, I was on the phone with somebody today who was a friend of actually the father of one of my clients, and he wasn't sure if his resources could help. So he reached out to me because I was able to help his son. And, you know, I told him, I said, look, I said, stick with the people that you got. They should be able to help you. And he goes, but they haven't gotten back to me. I said, I'm sure they backed up. And sure enough, an hour later, he called me and said, they called me back and they're able to do that. I really appreciate that. So I have no problem answering some questions and helping people, you know, navigate through this thing. The application process is really, really simple. You don't have to go through background checks and all this other stuff. And, you know, some of these programs, you don't even have to personally guarantee the money. So, which is a way SBA is
Yeah, that's
typically
crazy.
the toughest
That's
people, the
just
toughest people
nuts.
to borrow money from. So, you know, they're really doing this, but I'll post my, my
Now, if I'm
email
not
address.
mistaken, the SBA, you can get up, it's gonna be in 4 payments, but you can get upwards of $25,000, right?
No, the SBA, you can get up to $2 million depending on your situation. So
Oh,
in
I'm
this,
gonna
in
change
this
my
instance-
numbers then.
Well, that's what I mean is, look, everybody's situation is different. They're not going to give you $2 million, Norman, when they look at your business.
Why not? I'm a nice guy.
I know you're a nice guy, but you know, but most businesses can get up to between 2 and 10, you know, most they can get is really 2 million. Some businesses will be able to get 10 million, but,
Did you apply for the 2 million to fix your backyard a little bit and get another
well,
horse?
yeah, you know, I got my horses and my racetrack and my
That's right.
my
And your
Ferrari pickup
Ferraris,
truck,
right,
yeah,
all right.
all of those things. So
Boys are back. Boys are back.
But you know, and I'm going to post my number too. So you know, anybody wants to give me a call, I'll be more than happy to talk to them and walk them through it. You know, I'll do the best I can. You may not get me right away, but I will get back to you. It may take me a day or two because, like everybody else, I'm just, you know, I got a lot of things going on, a lot of people that I'm talking to. So
Now that we spent
Who's your health
about
prop?
40
Was that?
minutes or so getting all sad and depressed and whatever,
Mhm.
and maybe had some good conversation about COVID, let's see if there's anything that we can talk about. Ilene, have you done by any chance any fun stuff? I know John has. He's been eating all kinds of donuts and pizza, and he's been having a good time. But have you and your son done anything special or
No.
little?
Just work. Um,
Darren's on the beach.
Yeah, we're going. That's where we're going next.
We can't even go to the beach now.
He's
They
there.
closed
He's
down
there.
the-
That's the
We're
frustrating
doing
part,
this
right?
from Florida, by the way. You think we're in Long Island?
I'm actually trying to eat healthy. It's not really working, but I'm in the house all day. And in the past, I usually walk. If I need to go for a walk, it's into the kitchen. So I think eating healthy is probably a goal that is helpful, and just working. So you know, I believe in picking up the phone and calling people. I think that it's really helpful. I
You've
was
been
telling-
doing a lot of Zoom meetings too.
I do a lot of Zoom meetings. I've been doing Zoom for years. But I used to call it Zoom Skype because people didn't know what Zoom
Yeah,
was.
I had heard
So-
about it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so I love it. I've been doing it for years, and because our board is scattered and people work late, and you can do a Zoom meeting at 9 o'clock at night, and you know, with people from
That's
other
great.
parts of the country. So I enjoy that. I just want to bring up something that I talked about earlier, that at this time when people are feeling the stress, I'm not going to go into how to relieve your stress because I have no clue, but I do want to be recognize that people become stressed for other reasons that we can't see because of what's happening. So one of the things in healthcare or in our services that we teach in our advocacy training is to look at the cues of people, that they're not necessarily what we perceive. So a woman on a Zoom call started crying because her hair was a mess. She couldn't get her hair right, blow it out. She was upset. And it really wasn't her hair, because everybody started saying, "You look
transference.
wonderful." Well, it was the idea that she can't even go out and get a haircut. And this is what
Right.
built up the stress level. So if somebody is feeling stressed and it's not appropriate or doesn't seem appropriate, it could be something completely different. And by listening to each other, and again, you know, laughing is fun too. We should be encouraging laughing because we're all feeling the same stress. So it's not that we're thinking the situation is funny, it's that our lives are going on, and that's really important.
Speaking of, stress and getting your hair cut, I found something, to do while I've been, locked up in a house. I mean, I do seriously need a haircut and a beard trim. So what I've been doing is I've been trimming the hairs in my ears and in my nose and trying to do my beard.
Well, you told me, right? It took you a couple of hours,
Did
right?
you mute
Just
him?
to get the nose
I
hair?
do this, on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
3 times a week. Wow.
Well, hey, I'm a hairy guy.
Apparently.
You could use a little trim yourself there, buddy.
Well, it's my Corona look. I'm
Okay,
not-
I
You
got
look
quilts and
all over.
it's doing you well. But I got this little scissor
Yeah.
and and I got that thing.
Listen, my barber does house calls. Yesterday he came and took care of me. So
Did he
my
really
hair-
come to your house?
Once a year. Was it leap year?
Yeah, it's a leap year. Yeah, every leap year I need a haircut, wise guy.
Yeah.
See, it's good to laugh. We're having a nice laugh now. It's good.
Darren, tell us
John,
your
what are you doing, John? What are you doing to make your day brighter?
Let me tell you what my wife's doing to me. I'm
Hold it. You got a lady on the show.
no. Well, that's after midnight. And before
asleep
5
by
a.m.
then, so.
But yeah, anyway, I'm painting a lot. We found a couple of gallons of trim paint, so I'm painting every trim I have in this house, pretty much, and trying to keep busy. Just trying to keep busy, And I got my mom is about a mile away, my aunt also, so I try to keep tabs on them. They're freaking out. If I go to the store, I try to get them stuff. I leave it on their porch. It's interesting because I've been home since Thanksgiving, pretty much. I haven't gone back to work. And I was supposed to go back to work, but then this thing happened.
Oh, is your
So-
job secure for
No.
when this is over?
Not really. Not really. And they're
See,
finding
this is another stress issue
Yeah.
that people got to go because you don't get fired, you get laid off.
No,
correct.
but
And
Norm,
I'm in the
regardless,
recruiting business. I have people that are calling me crying.
Right.
I don't know if I'm going back. I don't know if I need a job. No one tells me exactly what to do, and they're not obligated to do
But-
that. It
but
would be
Norman-
nice. Yes.
Norman, what in John's situation, what they're realizing in his job is how little he actually did.
Oh, I get that. I can understand that. Well, then
Yeah,
the
it's
hell with
very easy
John.
to point a
Next.
finger,
And how much paper can you throw out of windows?
Well,
for
this is
safety
true,
and
right?
stuff.
There's a lot of
So-
paper backed up.
Again, Mary Redler's on and Mark Bolin's on. Mark actually had a question. He's, when you got something that's not COVID-19 related, what's the best way to contact a doctor? Because they're saying don't go to the emergency room.
Well, you call your doctor, and they'll tell you what to do. I actually have an appointment on Friday with a teller, like this,
Right.
with a doctor. So they're doing a lot of that now. I'm assuming my insurance is going to pay for it. I didn't think of checking into that, but I'm assuming they are.
Well,
But I had-
supposedly the government said yes.
Yeah. Oh, good. But instead of canceling the appointment, I called to confirm it, and they said, well, you can do it this way. Because they said, I'm not sitting in the waiting room. And they said I could do it this way. So I thought that was, that's an opportunity, because how often are we really that sick that we need a doctor? And unless you really are, then yeah, we have to think about going into the emergency room if it's something that needs an emergency.
My
It's
wife
funny
got a
you should
call
say that
today
because I
from-
had an appointment with my cardiologist over the phone,
Mhm.
and I'm kind of
Don't eat the donut when you talk to
Oh,
him.
no, I don't eat the donut in front of him. No,
No, that's not
I
good.
had all vegetables behind me. He had no idea.
Yeah,
And we're actually
sauteed
pretty
in.
friendly with him, and I asked him afterwards. I said, "How you doing?" I'm like, "You're asking me how I'm doing. How are you doing?" He goes, "It's frustrating." He's like, he can't do any stents. He says he's not allowed to do any of that. They're not allowed to use any of the operating rooms right
Right.
now. I said, even if you have a scheduled open heart surgery, they cut them all out. So I'm like, well, how do you?
That's ridiculous.
Right. So how do you go about this? He's like, it's like working in a third world country where we give the medication to keep them alive until they pretty much if they actually have a heart attack, and that's when we could open them up and do surgery. I'm like, how crazy is that?
My wife got a call today from Sloan Kettering
Mhm.
to confirm her April 18th follow-up appointment.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's a little bit crazy that they called so far in advance to confirm it. Hopefully it will go on and things will be a bit better, but
Right.
they're,
But can you
keeping-
imagine,
they're
Norm,
keeping on
that you were scheduled for an open heart surgery and they can't do it only if you are feeling like you're going to have a heart attack? Like, how do you sleep at night? It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. I think that's why the ship came in. I think that's why they're going to take over hotel rooms. But
They took over the Javits Center. Yeah, they're doing a
Javits.
whole bunch of things like that.
Yeah.
So they're trying to relieve that pressure. Pressure's building everywhere. And like nothing we've ever seen before. And that's
It's
the
the
thing.
conversation.
Yeah.
Again, just tell us the truth
Right.
on what's going on, and then we'll deal with it.
I just think of how many deaths may happen because not directly from this virus, but
But our result because of it.
correct.
Yeah.
It's indirectly caused.
Right.
Yeah.
And they don't always know the truth. They don't always know the information, but they want to give out something.
Right.
So if information comes out today and then tomorrow it changes, then we're going to say it's wrong information we're getting. So it is going to change. The idea is that we need to know, we know that this is a deadly virus. We know what's happening. We know how to treat what we're supposed to be doing to avoid it. And we need to watch each other and make sure that everyone that we know is doing the right thing and that we're doing the right thing to make sure we don't spread it. And not spreading it means staying home. It means making sure that things are washed and cleaned and doing what we're told to do. So it almost doesn't matter what they're talking about in the news, because right now we have only certain things that we could be doing and treating it. Should we be expecting certain things? Yeah, people are going to have babies still. They're still going into the hospital and have babies. They just passed the governor, I think, just is now allowing spouses and partners to go in while a woman has a baby. They weren't
that's
allowing
good.
them in. Yeah, they weren't allowing them in. So things are changing. And you know what? In the third world countries where it's really, really bad, people survive.
That's the way
People
they do
do
it.
survive. So as bad as it is and as scary as it is right now, there are opportunities where people, I think they're working even harder to make sure that we come out of this okay, but we have to do our part too. So once again, in the position that I'm in, I'm encouraging people to do your part. If somebody is in the hospital, don't call every hour. Be prepared if you go to the hospital with your medical records. And I put, you keep stuff in a Ziploc bag that can be washed down. Remember your phone and your phone charger so you can keep in touch with your family if you end up in the hospital. So there's things that we could be doing to prepare because it might happen. And we just want to make everything easier and feel better about it.
And to your point, Ilene, even if we're just running out for a minute, put the mask on, John, put the gloves on. Even if
You're
you're
right.
just running to get
Absolutely.
one ripe banana and one not so ripe banana. You know what I mean?
I keep baggies of these. These are all over my house and my car, because when I go into the store, even for a minute, it smells so good. Antibacterial wipes on wagons, on doorknobs. I don't touch anything with that, so I don't even wear the gloves because I'm constantly with these things.
I eat a chocolate bar first when I go in, and then I use the wipes to wipe off my hands from the chocolate.
Is that what
You-
keeps you using the antibacterial stuff?
you-
Is that how you've been trained?
But keep in mind what
I'm
we're
lucky in effect that because my wife is in that kind of business, I have 75% alcohol kind of hand washes and stuff. And by the way, does everybody take their temperature every day? I guess that's a no. Take your temperature
Right, because you never know.
because you don't know, and that's going to
We
be the
need
first
to-
sign.
I think we need to assume that we are all carrying it. That's, I think,
Right.
piece of it until we're proven different. And that's the difference in the quarantine and the isolation. The quarantine is that we don't have the symptoms, but I believe that we all need to start thinking that we may be a carrier, or the person next to us or we're living with is a
That's
carrier.
right.
That's why we're washing everything down. We can't just assume that we're not. So if I don't have a temperature today, it doesn't mean that I'm not carrying the virus, and tomorrow I'll have the temperature. We have to assume that we're carriers. Because I was sick a few weeks ago. Somebody said to me, maybe you had it. I don't know, but who's going to take a chance? No, it came and went.
Right. And that's the thing too. Look, even if you're feeling just a little not right, don't go out.
Right.
Take the precaution, take a few days, stay in until you feel better. Because like Irene said, you could have it and just not have any serious symptoms.
Mhm.
There are
What if
people.
someone has my $1,000 Peter Lanza ball that I really need to have it.
Right, yeah. Well, you know
Because
what
my-
I'm gonna do? I'm gonna rub it and I'll spit on it.
We
and-
we already
See the-
stained it.
and stain
It's
it, yeah,
stained.
stain
We
Oh,
it.
maybe I'll
dropped it
send
a
it back to
few
Les. I'll get a new one.
I'll sign it for you.
Thanks.
You take phone calls here?
Actually, no, we're not tonight. We're not, because this is all new to me and I don't know how to accept the calls without really messing everything up. So we're gonna work on that for next time.
So can I ask Norm about the shows that we're missing?
The show.
Oh, I mean, all those shows that I postponed and put on to next year in 2021. I'll tell you.
I have
Annette,
tickets. I
Well,
still have my
Yes, you
let's
do.
do this. Let's do
we-
this, Irene. I agree with you. So let's talk about how has it affected us from a business standpoint, right? So Norm, why don't you start? Because you're in a what we consider a non-essential role, right? Eileen and I are in essential roles, and John's
My own world.
yeah, he's on his own world. But you're
He's in New Jersey. What do you
your
want?
business is considered non-essential. Not only that, your business creates crowds, which is forbidden right now, right? So
I
how did-
like when there are crowds in my business. That makes
Yes.
me feel real good. But I went from having a banner year. I mean, we had at that particular time it's about 17 concerts booked just for 2020. And I had to put one of them, I'm still waiting for a date. 5 or 6 of them have already been postponed. But what this time has given me is I've been able, what's going to happen is that when this is gone, people are going to be looking and running to get out of the house and go someplace and enjoy themselves. And music is a great cure for a lot of different things. Music is the universal language. No matter what kind of music you like, there's something there for you that makes you feel good. Whether it's going to church and you like to hear the gospel, or you like rock and roll with oldies, or whatever it may be. But my next show is supposed to be on June 6th. And it's supposed to be with a first time ever done of the Legends of Brooklyn, which is Barbra Streisand, Barry Manilow, and Neil Diamond. I haven't been able, actually, that's wrong. I've sold 8 tickets. 2 people bought 4 tickets each because everybody is afraid to go and purchase a ticket. So I already called the theater and I said, I need an additional date for 2 or 3 months down the road. So we're going to see what happens with that. But we are going to wind up going to Florida. We are going to Rochester. We're going to Syracuse. We're going into New Jersey. I booked a show in Staten Island. So things are going to be happening. And then I'm going to be back to being okay. The headhunting business, forget it. I'm like I said, there was a person that called, they were in tears. They didn't know what to do. I had just gotten them a job. They've been there 3 months and they were let go, not fired, let go. No direction at all whatsoever. So it is that's why I trim my nose hairs and my beard, and that's what I do.
You know what? I'm so thankful that Renee can get out of the house every day because you would probably make.
I'm thankful too.
Yeah, don't check his floorboards, whatever you.
She comes in and she's an angel. She comes in every morning before she goes to work, gives me the thermometer, puts it in my mouth. If she doesn't like the way it's in there, she straightens it all out, and I get good ratings.
So do you
that.
cheat? Do you cheat with the thermometer, Norm? Is that why she?
No, you
straightens
can't
it?
because she's standing right over me. I gave it some thought, but I can't really do that. That's it. All right, next, who else is going to
So
talk?
Eileen, how has it affected your business?
Well, because we're nonprofit, we're donations, of course, we can't really expect donations, although that's how we work is on donations, and even presentations around the country. I was scheduled to do speaking engagements at hospitals and at conferences, and that's funding source for us that's not coming in. So financially, we're taking a hit that way, and it really isn't a nobody knows what our business is because we're a small nonprofit, but our consulting with families and our work with families can easily be done through Zoom. I rarely go to hospitals anymore. My book came out, by the way. I don't know if you knew I wrote a book.
No.
Oh, what's the name of it?
Eileen, come on. You should have. We would have
what are
done
you
a whole
looking
show
for?
just on your book.
We only
Where
got 2
is it?
more
Where
minutes
is
to
it?
do this anyway. So
I don't
talk.
know. It's in the other room, I think. It's called Rants of a Patient Safety Advocate, and it's 20 years of being at the bedside. It's very short stories and experiences of being an advocate at the bedside, and each story has a lesson, because that's visiting people at the hospital and the work I've done at the hospitals and in my work in the nonprofit world, and with leaders in the country and lobbying
And international.
and right. I don't know if that's in there, but it's from my blog. I have a blog that I've been keeping since 2010.
So can we get this on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. I'd love it if you did. Sure, it's only $10, and all proceeds are going to fund Pulse and the Take Charge campaign. So it's an easy read. It was meant to be, and it's actually Mary Redler is one of the editors for it.
Oh,
I
okay.
love Mary.
You know,
Yeah,
guys know
Mary's
Mary.
great. Yeah,
So
she's watching tonight.
Hi, Mary.
she's an author too. She's done quite a few books.
Yeah, she's
So I'm
a great
excited
author.
about it. It is. I think it's easy and a good read, and some people might recognize themselves in it because and there's of course tips on how to become an advocate or what to do if you're helping somebody else. And there's a story in there, another side of the opioid crisis, interviewing somebody who's addicted to opioids, and his story. So it's I'm hoping
Oh,
it's
it sounds great. Darren, what's up with you? Anything else before we
You know
say
what?
goodbye?
Basically everything I've been talking about, with this crisis that's going on, working very hard to keep my clients going, and figuring out, and this is a great time for anybody out there. This is a really good time for you, especially if your business is shut down, to really look at the way you've been doing business and to
Right.
really redesign how you're going to do business when you come out of this. Because you're not going to be able to just go, okay, let's turn the switch back on and go right back to the way you were doing business. It's going to be different, and you got to be prepared for it. And you got to know, okay, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 on how we're going to get out of this thing. That's some of the stuff that we're working on. So again, reach out to me. Be more than happy to have a conversation. If I can help you, I will. If I can't, I'll direct you in what I would believe would be the right place to go. And also we just launched a website a couple of weeks ago. As you see behind me, Grade My Business. Go to grademybusiness.com. That'll give you some insight on how your business is doing in 6 key areas, actually 5 key areas for your business and 1 key area for yourself. So, you can take an online quiz there. It's free, no obligation. You get a nice little report on what we think you can do, and give you some tips and tricks on how you can help yourself, because that's what all of these things are all about, is how you're going to help yourself, and we'll be more than happy to help you do that. So,
Well, let me throw something in before we say goodnight, and we're going to give John a chance to say goodnight to everybody. Because of what we did here tonight with Zoom, we've kind of like opened up the business power hour with Darren and the Music Man around the country for people that have businesses around the country and looking for a New York or East Coast presence. We are now the place to go to, and we're going to have more on that next week as part of our conversation. So stay tuned. And if you're interested, if you want some information before that, give me a call at 631-698-9696. I'd love to talk to you. And Darren, if people want to reach Darren, how would they reach you?
they can reach me at 631-721-4347, or they can go to the bphdmm.com and reach out to us through that website also. You can
And we'll
also
promise to call you back.
Yeah, and you guys can reach us on Facebook and Twitter and all that other stuff. We're all out there, and we're all doing that. So John, other than promoting your brother's book, what do you got going on there, buddy?
That was sneak. I like that. That was good.
Oh, so good. I'm telling you.
So let me ask you, is there a recipe for Boston cream donuts there in your brother's book?
No, for $2, you just go through the drive-thru and they give it to you right away.
Well, here's a great question, because your brother owns a restaurant, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Two now.
He owns 2 restaurants.
what's his restaurant? Can we know?
Upstate New York. One's in Woodstock, and one is in Margaretville.
Yeah, upstate. They're upstate.
Uh-huh.
And I can tell you, one of them, there is actually no phone service at all.
No.
Zero. I popped in there one day.
The
Mike
Phoenician
was
Diner.
right. I popped in there one day. Mike wasn't there, and I
That's
had no
funny.
phone service to call him. So
That's funny.
he had no
And
idea.
didn't someone think you were Mike?
Yeah, I was actually walking out of the diner, and a guy stopped me and started talking to me like I own the place. I'm like, wait a second.
I'm not
He
Mike.
goes, oh, you got to be him. You look just like him. I'm like, I don't think we look that much alike, but it's
No, he's totally trying to work what's going on. He's doing a lot of takeout. He hooked up with some program. He was telling me where they deliver meals to homes for like $10. So he has to come up with some sort of meal that's around $10 that he could supply. he had to lay off like 40 people.
Whoa.
Yeah, between the two restaurants and the one he just opened like a couple of months ago
Right.
in Woodstock. And, it's like, what are you going to do? You got to try to.
You don't need waiters. You don't, right. You don't need.
Doesn't go on this long, but it's tough. It's tough.
You know,
The only
we
people that
should-
got it easy are like chiropractors. They sit there and do nothing, and they're not even doctors. So
Oh wow!
well, you can't really teach them though.
You
can't touch
teach
anyone.
them.
I think that's a
Oh.
good way for us to say goodnight,
Yeah. Well, quick shout out.
because the chiropractic organizations now are going to be all up our
They're
butts.
going to be all
They
over
don't
us.
really, Norm, could they park anywhere? They really can't. They're not doctors. So
Doctors, they can't park
they
anywhere.
can't park anywhere.
Quick shout out. Brian Cohen joined us. Brian's always a
Hey,
super
Bri.
supporter of
Hi,
the show. And again, for everybody who tuned in tonight, my John, your friend Ken Campo has been on. A bunch of people that are on there, and I apologize for not being able to mention everybody, but we want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight.
And
Again,
there've
this
been a
is-
bunch of everybody's.
there's been a bunch of everybody's. It's the first time we did this, so just stay tuned, listen, and wait for additional news on when we're going to be able to do this again. And
And thanks for having me on as the eye candy. I really appreciate it.
that's it. That was the
If
whole
you
point
put on a
bringing you on.
Yankee shirt,
No,
That's
you want to see my real shirt, Norm?
There you go.
wanna see-
yeah, let's do this.
Here's my real shirt,
There
Norm.
you
Oh, look
go.
at that.
Because hey, we have two number one fans on our Facebook page, and they're on screen right now, both of them. So Eileen's better than John, because Eileen shows up for every show. John doesn't show up for every show.
No.
So-
And anyway, we want to say goodnight to our two number one fans, and we want to say goodnight to all our fans that stay and watch us and help us grow. And please stay healthy, do what you're supposed to do, wash your hands, take your temperature, put on a face mask, and just protect yourself and protect everyone around you. All right,
Everybody-
we do that.
yeah, you guys be safe out there. Have a good night, and God bless everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.